In 1989, NWA and Two Live Crew were booked on the same tour. And at that time, they were two of the most controversial rap groups in the country. With both crews, you already know it was group essential. But things took a turn when the Two Live Crew backup dancers started partying with NWA. I don't even have to say it. You already know what was going on. See, during the time, NWA was the biggest crew overall, but Two Live Crew was just as important. I know there could have been a debate. NWA might have been the bigger crew worldwide, but without Two Live Crew, your favorite rappers wouldn't even have freedom on the mic. Both groups tried outshining each other on tour, doing some ridiculous things, causing the shows to end early on certain nights. It was definitely competition, but things got personal when it came to the dancers. A lot of people might say Uncle Luke held a little grudge for years. 2 years later, in hip-hop, a lot changed. NWA was a different group, and the group faced problems within. January of '91, at a record release party, Dr. Dre physically assaulted Dee Barnes. Dr. Dre grabbed her by the hair, slammed her head against the wall, kicked her, and attempted to throw her down a flight of stairs. Witnesses said that he continued to attack her in the women's room, punching her and chasing her. Now, you might ask where I'm going with this. Well, a lot of people in the industry seemed to turn their heads when it came to the situation, except this one person. And that one person seems to be Uncle Luke. Two Live Crew was heavily criticized for objectifying women in music, but Luke constantly said that even though his lyrics are explicit, he never condoned violence against women. Dre had a crazy reputation for abusing women, and the culture ignored it. Now, it literally took over 2 decades before the larger hip-hop community revisit Dr. Dre's abuse towards women. Now, what would make an artist from the South voluntarily address something so personal about a West Coast artist? Y'all not on the same coast, y'all don't party in the same clubs, y'all don't pay the same taxes. So what's the real reason Uncle Luke went out his way? So, some may say he consistently tried to attach himself to NWA and did it for clout. Some say he still felt some type of way about one of the dancers on tour. And some may say he just needed an excuse just to have a conflict. But with all that being said, Dre didn't pay it no mind. He had bigger things to worry about, like his future in the music industry. He left NWA and got with Death Row, and things just was up from there. Now, Luke continued to throw shots, and at this point, it just looked like hate. In another interview, he stated Death Row's bully tactics wouldn't work in Miami, and he dared them to come down and try it. And, where did he get that from? See, being a part of NWA, Dre talked that gangster shit, but when he got with Death Row, he really felt like one. He had Big Suge behind him, and he just started throwing shots at Luke on Dre Day, talking slick. I'm not even gonna downplay it, they was disrespectful. And they said his name too, no subliminals or nothing. So that was back then where you can say someone's name, you didn't have to throw no little subliminals or nothing. But after that, Uncle Luke drops Cowards in Compton. To keep it 100, Luke couldn't battle with Drake and definitely couldn't battle with Snoop on the mic. Luke came at the outfits Dre used to wear with the world-class Wrecking Crew. Basically the same thing that Eazy-E came at him for. It was an electro group Dre was a part of before NWA. Luke criticized Dr. Dre's street image, saying Dre wasn't really about that life and was playing a role. 1993, Jack the Rapper in Atlanta. This was back when they had hip-hop conventions, where you actually network with other artists. This was good for the up-and-coming artists and record labels. It took place in Atlanta at the Marriott. Luke Crew and Death Row will be in the building for sure. Now, Luke did reach out to them and let them know before they came out to ATL that a sit-down was definitely necessary. But Death Row, they just ignored it, and they played it sweet. They thought since they were super deep, that was good enough. Jack the Rapper in Atlanta in 1993, you had an executive groupies, rappers, DJs, backup dancers, hustlers, and gangbangers under one roof. So you know some shit was about to go down. And this was the event that Dr. Dre didn't attend. Death Row had chips on their shoulders. They arrived to Atlanta deep, but unfortunately, they wasn't deep enough. Only if they had an idea on a connection between Miami and Atlanta. Both cities were nothing to play with. ATL got busy, but Miami in the 90s, it wasn't all palm trees and beaches. Don't let it fool you. It was Chopper City. That's what they called it, because everyone had one. A chopper, a AK, a MAC-10. The streets were flooded with heavy artillery. Uncle Luke damn sure ran Miami. He wasn't just throwing pool parties. His label had muscle. He had connections all over the South. Uncle Luke had lots of love in Atlanta. Days before the event, he was showing love in and out of different projects with some serious men. So you already know those serious men would be attending those events. Now, when Death Row and the Miami boys crossed paths, words were exchanged, and it was up from there. An all-out brawl. Well, an all-out ass whooping right in the Marriott. Death Row dominated the charts. I'm not gonna lie. They did good when it came to the charts. They dominated the charts. Luke and his boys, they dominated the fight. Death Row members getting beat with golf clubs, hit with glass bottles. You had bottles flying, chairs flying. Dudes was getting cut up by the Haitians. I mean, it was blood everywhere. Uncle Luke was covered in someone else's blood. Dudes walking around with white tees, burgundy. They said Trick Daddy was in there laying dudes out and he was young before people even knew who he was. It wasn't a game, man. They sent them boys back home with an ass whooping. I gotta give it to Snoop and them. They was definitely in the mix, unlike Dre. And they took a hell of an ass whooping for them. And they got ran out of Atlanta. Man, they should have just had that meet and they should have just checked in. Death Row even got beat and chased out another event that was in Orlando. They wasn't good in the South during the time, man. And that's real shit. So Suge had to straighten all that shit out, man, because if they can't go to the South, he's losing money. He's missing out on a lot of money. So Suge had to fix it. Suge, Snoop, and all of them, they were invited out to Miami for a Super Bowl event. Dre wasn't there, of course, but Luke rolled the red carpet out for them at that time. See, when you're in another city, you're automatically at a disadvantage. You don't have home turf, you don't have numbers, you don't have backup moving around with you the same way locals do. In this case, it wasn't all about toughness, it was about geography. Now, don't get me wrong, anyone could get caught slipping when they're out of their element, because no matter who you are, you can't beat the numbers when you're outnumbered and out of position. That can happen to anyone, trust me, I promise you that. That could have happened to Luke on the West Coast. The good part that came out of this was nobody lost their life and nobody wanted to seek revenge. It was squashed. But thanks for your time, I appreciate it. Hit the like button and jump in the comments, don't be a stranger. Don't forget to join the Patreon for exclusive content. Y'all be easy out there. I'm out.